Hi, and welcome to another one of my videos. So today I'm going to be talking about language paper 2, question 4. So the question we're looking at is compare how the writers convey their different ideas and perspective of the events that they describe. And this extract or this answer is written by a student, and the answer is on the source about Aberfan, and I've added the link in the description. So make sure you have a read of that extract or those extracts before you look at this answer. So if we get into it, and then I'll talk you through how I marked this answer as an examiner and the feedback I provided and why I provided that feedback. So if we start off, the writers have different views of the impact of the events. In source A, the sun sank early. The use of the imagery could foreshadow the effects of the event on Aberfan, as we are shown a sense of peace ending. This is shown through the idea of the sun, as it is a key essential to life and being able to live. The idea of the noun sun also shows how it is needed in order to bring light into someone's life. Now, there's a lot going on in this paragraph, but the first thing I said was start with a viewpoint as opposed to a device, and it needs to be more specific. So remember, the question's asking you about the writers conveying their different ideas and perspective of the events that they are describing. So rather than starting with a quote, it's best to start with a viewpoint. So this is essential, in my opinion, starting with a viewpoint as opposed to a device, and then being specific with this viewpoint. What is it showing? And that is very important. After this, you can then analyze your evidence after this. And everything should be grounded around the viewpoint, the writer's feelings, etc. If we go further down, the student then says, this shows the necessity of the sun as it is shown to be a gift, as light often links to paradise and being to live in peace and harmony. So here they've got a lot of connotations, but is that really answering the question? So that's something that needs to be considered. The use of the verb sank further emphasizes the downfall and drowning in problems. So again, they can link this to the writer's experience, the writer's viewpoint. This shows how significant the impact of the event was, as it ended this paradise for the people of Aberfan, removing their necessities and light and ending their world. So if that's what the writer's emphasizing and feeling, then this needs to be reworded to show that. The use of the adjective early shows how the writer believes this could have been prevented. Now they're getting into it in a bit more detail, or some detail. However, the lives of the people who were killed in this incident were cut short. So I suppose they're saying is, what they're trying to say is the loss of lives was able to be prevented. So does the writer feel a sense of frustration? If so, this needs to be justified. And they can use this at the beginning of their paragraph rather than bringing it here. So this is where they're actually starting to engage more with the point. And I think that is something that needs to be done more. Okay. If we go further down, so this is where they start analyzing source B. So having source B, the writer mentions how only a feeble echo of some distant shock was present. They've used a good quote. The use of the adjective feeble portrays a sense of weakness and a lack of physical strength. This is further emphasized by the idea of echo, as it gets quieter as time goes on and ends quickly. Okay, language analysis happening here, but again, where's the viewpoint? So the viewpoint needs to be explored, and then how does it compare to source A? Is there a comparative link? But that's something that they need to do. I think I'm going to emphasize that in red just to make it clear for you guys. So this is my marking, this is my working out as I'm going down. Then as we go further down, there's a this shows how the impact of the event was not as major as the one from source A, as the effects of it were removed easily over time. All right, this isn't entirely clear. What does it show us about how the writer's thinking, the impact of the event that's being described? They can elaborate and reword this better. The use of the noun echo illustrates the idea of something dying down, for example, the impact of the earthquake. So maybe they can explore why that choice of word is used. What is it suggesting about the writer's take on these events? The use of the adjective distant elucidates how far the problem is and how it basically isn't their problem as it doesn't affect them that much due to it being minor. Not really clear here, so that needs more clarity. And if we go further down, overall, the writers have different views on the impacts of the earthquake and the event on Aberfan. In my opinion, this can be developed further. So what is their different view? Has this student considered the different views clearly? I think not. They're analyzing a lot of the language in detail where they're prioritizing that. But remember, you need to talk about the writer's viewpoints, attitudes, perspectives. So now let's look at the feedback I gave was far too simple. At the end, have you compared the viewpoints enough? What are their different viewpoints? How might these differences have been influenced? So the differences that the student has touched upon, what do these differences show? How can we express them and analyze them further? So now let's look at an AQA model answer. So this is the one you go straight into. The writer of Source A seems dispassionate at first as he paints the picture of gloomy, isolated Aberfan as it lies tucked away from sight and mind. Straight away, they're expressing their viewpoint, making it very clear. The verb tucked is more usually associated with being tucked up in bed and tends to have more positive connotations of safety and warmth. So the language analysis and the connotations comes after establishing the viewpoint. That's something you definitely need to take away from this video. But here the writer uses it differently, perhaps to imply complacency. Interesting. So now they're breaking up the thoughts, perspectives of the writer. He reinforces this view when he creates a sense of a malevolent killer stalking its victims. He sees the disaster as cruel and a shame on God and man. This time, the emotive connotations of shame link with God to suggest a biblical connection, as with the shaming of sinners. That is a brilliant point, and that becomes perceptive. So this is the difference between, or this is showing us how to get in to the grade 9 category. You need to pick out really good connotations, but these connotations aren't based on isolated analysis and details around the quotes. It's based on the foundation should be on the writer's viewpoints, and then how is that language being used to show this viewpoint, this perspective, this attitude. Yeah, so if we go further down, in contrast, the writer of Source B mocks the idea of the earthquake, which seems so minor it was hardly noticed in London. So look at how they start their paragraph with a clear topic sentence, how it's different to Source A, and it's literally one detailed sentence. They then go into the method. One method he uses exaggeration, where he describes the incident out of all proportion with the Midlands, for example, where it merely broke crockery. The reference to a broken crockery is hardly momentous, yet through it, the writer cleverly understates the threat at this point, something he escalates later in his report when he asks the rhetorical question, who can say what strange trial may await us? Here the reference to trial reveals the writer's view of the potential dangers a future earthquake might bring. Just as a defendant is put on trial for life, so he seems to imply that next time a similar earthquake might lead to loss of lives, and so should be taken more seriously. Again, they've taken the quotes and then they're breaking up their analysis, explaining their ideas, and constantly linking it back to the writer's viewpoints and perspectives. You really need to get into the mindset of the writer with this question and then pick apart the language, think about how the writer is using the language to influence us as readers. And this student does it really well. or the AQA mark scheme does this really well, and this is why it's given a grade 9. So I hope you benefit from that video and it helps you with answering paper 2 question 4, and there'll be more videos just to help you understand these papers better so that you can succeed in them. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.